This video is sponsored by Audible. You see that guy? That was me not so long ago. What kind of guy looks like that without a drug or alcohol problem? Only a writer. Today was the day I was gonna kick its ass. Oh yeah, I could feel it. The key is you just gotta stay in the room. Just stay in the room. In the end, how much worse could it get? The last time I was visiting my old roommate in Los Angeles, we were talking about how the first 40 minutes of Limitless is like the ultimate movie for a self-improvement junkie like the two of us. If you don't know the story already, it consists of a bum writer down on his luck, unable to cultivate the mental fortitude or discipline to get anything done, least of all write his next book. I'm going to write a novel. After which his girlfriend breaks up with him and he comes across his ex-brother-in-law who gives him a pill, NZT48, which is the ultimate nootropic. Despite his better judgment, he ingests it and it turns him into a superhuman when it comes to mental fortitude. The nootropic unleashes the deep recesses of his mind, activating clarity, focus, motivation, enormous creativity, and social confidence. And while the lengths to which Eddie Mora goes to accomplish big things and what he's able to do inside the movie, like learn day trading really rapidly and become the best in the world at it, all of those things are certainly superficial and only possible in the movies, but there's actually a decent amount from Eddie Mora's transformation that's actually pretty applicable to the everyday person. This video is sort of the spiritual sequel to a video I'd done like 20 months ago on a similar topic and covers 4 strategies by which you can think more powerfully, sharply, make decisions with confidence, and generally speaking, produce more value. The first idea is this concept of morning pages. In this movie, Eddie Mora has been unable to write a book that he's been tasked with writing, and yet he sort of convinces himself that as long as he stays in the room, he can get writing. Of course, he just ends up at a bar and ends up drinking, but this idea is sort of true when it comes to a lot of creative work. A lot of times creativity can be broken down into a system. So for instance, when it comes to writing, just telling yourself that you're gonna stay in the room and write for a certain period of time, that lends itself to so much creativity. And morning pages are sort of an old idea that are of this vein. It's where you just free write for about 3 pages, 750 to 1,000 words, first thing in the morning. And it sort of gets all these little ramblings and whisperings in your brain that's just constantly floating around, useless thoughts causing gyration. It just gets it all out on the page, and it feels incredibly refreshing. If not cultivated and weeded out, the thoughts in our mind are constantly running, like applications on a computer, using up RAM, using up memory, and making it run more slowly. Morning pages, alongside other habits like meditation, is an incredibly powerful way to not only get those thoughts out so that you can be more present, but also so that you can extract creativity out of those thoughts. And one thing that we see Eddie Mora do once he starts taking NZT is that the words just flow out of him. He just gets himself to write. I'm sharpest first thing in the morning, and so this habit has been profoundly useful to me to just start writing as soon as I get up. So morning pages is the first habit, and trust me when I say it can definitely make you much more limitless with time. Number 2 is morning cardio. This is a point that I've alluded to a few times now. We've all felt it where you start moving and all of the lethargy, all of the depression, all of the self-doubt starts to melt away when you just start moving your body. Or as Joe Rogan might put it, it just feels good to move, man.
It feels good to move your body.
In Limitless, one of the first transformations we see Eddie Mora make is in fact exercise. Cardiovascular exercise in particular increases the production of a compound called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This has been called miracle grow for the brain. It actually increases the amount of LTP, long-term potentiation, or synaptic connections in the brain. As John Rady puts it in his book, Spark, the first solid link between neurogenesis and learning came from a study that took a look at inactive mice versus active mice. And what they found was that the mice who were active had twice as many new stem cells in the hippocampus as the inactive ones. Speaking generally about what they found, the lead scientist said that there is a significant correlation between the total number of cells and a mouse's ability to perform complex tasks, which basically just means that active recall, memory, all aspects of learning are increased when you do cardiovascular exercise, when you get oxygen into your brain. Roughly speaking, about 20 minutes of cardiovascular exercise is enough for most people to secrete or produce more BDNF. And I myself have felt the sincere implications of this. Last year, in August of 2019, I had given myself a challenge of running a mile every single day, first thing in the morning, and I ran it pretty slowly. I ran it in 7 to 10 minutes. So at times I was going at a very jogging pace. But what I found was that just in those 10 minutes of running, I felt so much sharper throughout the entirety of the day. On some days, it gave me back 2 hours of productivity, just because I was inherently more sharp, I was making better decisions, things were just way better for that month. Not to mention that my mood, my spirits were significantly higher. So morning cardio, morning exercise could be a powerful way to become more limitless without any nootropic. Number 3, set aside weekly periods for rigorous cleaning and closing open loops. Have you ever had this experience where you let the dishes pile up, or even allow a bunch of emails to get stacked up, or just let your space get real nice and messy, and just the thought of going into cleaning that space is kind of overwhelming because it's just so annoying to look at. It's so gross looking. But once you start cleaning, you just develop this compulsion, this itch to just keep going, and you feel like, oh, now that I did the dishes, I want to check the inbox. Now that I checked the inbox, I want to clean my car. You just find yourself going through the entire motions. It's like going up and down a roller coaster where once you get started, you just don't feel like stopping. I think that's actually a very powerful impulse to living in a way that's clean, elegant, and allows you, through your environment, to think more clearly. In Marie Kondo's book, The Magic of Tidying Up, which I'd read a few months ago, I was actually surprised to hear her say that she recommends that people power clean, like aggressively. Once you start cleaning, just keep going, clean and clean until your space looks immaculate and you're maybe exhausted. I have this personal theory that our brains just want to stack and demolish particular lines of tasks. So I sort of start taking advantage of this line of movement by just allowing myself to clean and sort things like a damn tyrant. And immediately, once things are organized and elegant, you find yourself just feeling like more of a badass. Sharp and clear, like a sniper on a vast terrain, prepared to literally assassinate your projects and make them cry out in dread and agony. A big thank you to today's video sponsor, Audible. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, like 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, access to daily news, digests, and even guided meditation programs. During those weekly periods when I am closing those open loops, like doing the laundry or ironing or what have you, I do like to listen to Audible because it's just a way to make that time more interesting. Recently, I'd actually been going in and re-listening to audiobooks that I'd listened to in the past. Most recently, I've been listening to The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. It's a very compelling narrative. In the 2008 recession, he was about to lose his house and his consulting business was completely tanking. And so in that time, what he found himself doing was taking on this morning ritual. And he found that in 2 months, he actually doubled his income because of the enormous hope, possibility, ideas, and creativity that came out of those lifesavers. And it's something I would definitely recommend checking out on Audible. Visit audible.com/Captain Sinbad or text Captain Sinbad to 500-500 to get a great deal, and thank you Audible for sponsoring this video. The last practice that will make you more limitless without NZT48 is also perhaps the most difficult to implement regularly, but I felt a real transformation in myself recently by this practice. It's one I've talked about so many times before, but I do feel like I have some new insights on it, and that is to learn any skill. In Scott Adams' excellent book called How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big, he alluded to this idea that every single skill you learn doubles your chances of success. Now, a lot of these ideas in self-help, they were things that I would just read about, but not actually know if I could execute, or not actually know if they would be true if I started executing. But I've more and more encountered this principle now that I find myself learning new skills for the sake of these videos. As many of you might know, we are in the middle of this series that I'm so excited about called the Genre Series, and as a part of it, I've had to try new things. Recently, I'd gotten on a horse to make our little Western piece, and it occurred to me the fact that I've ridden a horse just once now, or that I'm working on learning other skills for future videos, is actually making me a better actor. So many times when you go in for an audition as an actor, you're competing with 1,000 guys who are just as deserving of the part as you. And there's a section at the bottom of every actor's resume called like additional skills or special skills. And I'd never been able to fill out that section because I don't know, what could I do? I know chemistry, you know? But now that I'm slowly building up a body of skills that I can draw from, including horseback riding, for 2 upcoming videos, I'm also planning on taking up marksmanship and cooking. And all of these skills compound on each other to the point where I could go for some of these other acting jobs and stand out a little bit because I can do things that I wasn't able to do before. I've similarly noticed this happening in my consulting job, where in order to complete a recent project and a project deadline that was actually pretty intense, I had to learn HTML basically from scratch to get this email sent out. And while HTML and CSS, I guess they're kind of like the most basic programming languages, I didn't know how to do them at all before. But for the sake of meeting this deadline at work, I went on Code Academy, which is a free learning resource, and went through their entire path on learning HTML. And the fact that I was able to make that email send and learn HTML, I feel so much more competent of a consultant, and I feel like I have more to give to the clients because I can just do more. You can't anticipate the many ways that compounded skills might stack, so that the combination of 2 different things you learn, like horseback riding and HTML, will make you valuable to people. But certainly they will. And sometimes what you find is that a skill that you've learned today or picked up for a little bit today pays off like a year from now or 2 years from now. And it's such an exciting, incredible feeling when you get to use something and you realize that your competence can carry you through that next situation. It's a tremendous feeling and it bestows you a ton of confidence. And so those are the 4 strategies by which I feel you could become much more limitless. Of course, we all like to fantasize about that perfect nootropic pill that could make us better. But the truth is, our own capacity to learn, to do, and to implement habits that make us more sharp, that supersedes so many of these other little things. If you're new to the channel, my name is Nikhil. This channel is a combination between comedy sketches and more genuine videos like this one. I'm striving now to go for personal development topics told through narratives. If that's something that you think is valuable or appeals to you, then consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell because we are putting more and more into each video. And with that being said, for those of us who are willing to learn new skills, set aside weekly periods for closing open loops, maybe trying out a bit of morning cardio, and lastly, doing morning pages or at least some level of writing every day, to us I say, greatness is coming. Cheers.